want to talk about this game. Hi, Cubs fans. Welcome to Cubs on Tap. It was brutal. Absolutely fucking brutal. You know me. I'm Juice. Joined today by the Juice man himself. Juice.
We won't get copyrighted for this.
I hope not. We might, though.
Thanks, Alter Bridge. It's the funeral, buddy. Are you ready for the funeral episode?
I don't know if I am. I am not. But we got to be ready. We got to get ourselves ready for this. Yeah, funeral of an episode is really what it feels like.
Yeah, I'm not going to continue with that. Bad. But
bad.
Yeah, so I've listened to that song in loving memory by Alter Bridge since the game ended. And this is going to be super sad sack.
This is going to be super sad sack. I completely agree with you. Just for anybody that maybe didn't see today's game or hasn't been on social media, I don't know how you probably haven't heard about today's game, but just in case you haven't, the Cubs were up 7-0 after the top of the first inning and proceeded to lose 15-7 to the fucking Milwaukee Brewers, completing the sweep. No Corbin Burns today, but it didn't matter for them because magically the Cubs bats couldn't do absolute dick after the first inning. And Jake Arrieta looked like dog shit. I mean, nobody looked great. Brothers looked like dog shit. Nance looked like dog shit. I don't know. It really doesn't matter. I don't even want to talk about the actual game because, Juice, I think you and I were on here yesterday, and we were talking about how important today's game was to just get the trajectory going in the right direction heading into July. An easier schedule, a chance to rebound, the next 2 weeks to really define yourself either as buyers or sellers. And they come out and fucking do this. Literally, this is the first time since 1976 that a team has lost by more than 7 runs after being up by 7 runs. And in the history of baseball, that's the only time otherwise it's happened. So now it's happened twice. And the Cubs got to be victims of it in that godforsaken city, that godforsaken team in Milwaukee that on some days I hate just as much, if not slightly more than I do St. Louis. But holy shit, Juice. Like, you know how, like, I don't even know. I'm literally at a loss for words. I said it on Twitter earlier. I'm literally at a loss for words after today's game because that was, you know what? Channeling it. Here we go. It's everybody's favorite video. You've seen it on the internet. That was fucking embarrassing. And I wish I had a trash can to kick right now because, like, how are you up 7-0 and you give up 15 unanswered runs? Are you fucking kidding me? And I hate swearing as much as I might on this episode, but holy shit. I don't know what happened today, Juice. I really don't. I would love to hear what you have to say because literally, I'm at a loss for words after what I can put lightly is a gong show of a game.
Yeah. You said a lot of good things there. You know, a 15-0 run in a basketball game is a lot. In a baseball game, yeah, that's even worse.
Even a football game. I would be pumped if the Bears were only down 14 or 15-7 to the Packers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I thought that too. I actually thought about tweeting that. This isn't the first time that a Chicago team's blown a 7-0 lead. But, you know, I'm torn between told you so and I don't want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We talked about it last night. The feeling of that game last night was almost like kick to the balls, extra kick to the balls.
Yeah.
And it almost got you ready for today, right? It was like
almost. Yeah.
Almost. You know, they jumped out to a 7-0 lead real early, and I went, it wouldn't surprise me if they blew this one. And, you know, that's when you look at a team like that and you go, yeah, they're not good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I know. I'm laughing because I actually had the same thought. Like, they went up 7-0, and I'm like, this is too good to be true.
Yeah. And, you know, in the first inning, it was great, right? Everyone's kissing babies, and the tweets rolling out, the Cubs are back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, Milwaukee kicked the ball around a little bit in that beginning of the game, and it wasn't super impressive. I mean, you're going against a 23-year-old making his first start. You should be up 7-0. Then you hand over the ball to a guy who I hold near and dear to my heart because, as I said last night, the 15 team is my favorite Cubs team. And he was the part of the 15 team. The whole reason why the Cubs were who they were was because he had the greatest stretch of Chicago pitching or MLB pitching than any of us may ever see. You know, DeGrom's doing much of the same right now, but we had that guy. You know, it was like every day that we went out, it's like how – it wasn't a question of how he was going to shut them out. Is the other team going to get a hit? And now you watch him, and you're like, man.
Just a shell of himself.
Normally he would have a start like that, and you could see it on his face that he was surprised or that he was upset about it. But as he walked off the mound today, it was almost like he knew. You know where you're at. And you can't, regardless if they're buyers or sellers for the next, 3 months of the baseball season, it's going to be a question as if it's even worth to have him in the rotation anymore, because you might as well just give the ball to a guy in AAA or in AA to get him some MLB experience. Because if you're going to start the whole turn on the season now, you might as well see what you got for the future. Now, with that said, the schedule gets easier, but the Cubs don't get any healthier.
No.
So what is this team? And I think over the course of, since they've swept the Cardinals, I think we've kind of come to the realization of what this team's going to be. Mm-hmm. And they're widely inconsistent. They're very underwhelming in the talent aspect of the game. And when they're healthy, they're a division contender. But they're not a World Series contender. They're not an NLCS contender. Any team that makes the playoffs will beg to play them if they go in with the roster that they have now, considering that what wins in baseball is starting pitching in the playoffs, and they literally have one guy, maybe 1.5, because Davies has been better, that can give you a solid outing. And that's not a knock on Adbert Alzolay. He's young and he's learning.
Right.
After that, they got an awesome bullpen, but it's taxed and it's tired, and it's showing now. Mm-hmm. It's going to continue to be. I don't see this getting better until the All-Star break, and you start to talk about, they need to hammer it down and play better until then. Well, the strength of your ball club is bleeding, and there doesn't seem to be reinforcements coming for it, because they've shuffled guys up and down to protect their arms. Yeah. And it's brutal, man. I didn't think last night would be the turning point of the whole thing, but I have a very funny suspicion that we will look back at this season and remember these last two games as that's when we knew. Mm-hmm. It was when you knew that it was fun, right? May was fun. April was abysmal. June has been abysmal. But at the end of the day, man, it's sad. It's starting to get to the point where you don't want to watch. Did you get that feeling today?
I did get that feeling, and I think somebody else might have gotten that feeling too that we're going to add in here. Hello, Mr. Cody Delmendo. How are you doing, sir?
Fellas,
don't give out on us now. We need this gold. I need a Cody Delmendo live reaction. You're freezing on us, buddy. There you are.
Am I? I'm so sorry. I'm driving. I'm driving right now. I wanted to call in or slide in and just rant for a second, because I was at work all day following the game. I went to watch a couple innings on my lunch break, and it was great. And then it sucked, and it got worse. And yeah, I don't even. I'm at the point where like I feel pretty numb. You guys feel numb? I'm pretty numb.
Numb is a good word for it.
Yeah. I'm broken. I feel like I inhaled a bottle of mayonnaise for no reason. It all sucks, dude. That said, at least we don't have to feel pain tomorrow, and the schedule's really easy in July. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to join everyone else and say punt everything and sell everyone, fuck this, fuck that. But then I think about, oh, fuck. Rizzo Bryant didn't even play today. Jake Arrieta should be DFA'd. And, like, Nico Horner's still out. Like, all these injuries. And I'm like, baseball's so fucking weird. This team could get healthy, and who fucking knows? Like, I fucking hate this feeling right now, fellas. This fucking sucks. I wish we were just dead or alive. Like, not this in between shit. Like I feel numb. I feel dead. Like it, but at the same time, I don't. Like and maybe it's just because it's the fan in me that's like, you know, me and Ron, we talked about it on Sunday, Ron. I was like, you know, when we were kids, you always knew the Cubs were done by June. You always knew it. And this era hasn't been like that until now, it feels like. The season has never felt like it was over in this era until right now. And I want to, like, I don't want to believe that it's, fuck, man. Today was, I don't know where you can rank it in terms of worst Cubs losses, because I feel like we do a podcast, and like there's always at least one game in the month or whatever it is where we're like, that was the worst game of this era. Like, I feel like we had like a ton of those in April. You know what I mean? And like now, like, I don't know, like it's just really tough pill to swallow to go into Milwaukee, a team that's in first place, a team that's, as much as I don't want to admit that they're like a rival of the Cubs, like they've become a rival over the last couple of years. We'll see if it continues for like the foreseeable future and for a long time, for years to come. But like obviously since 2018, they basically have been. Like, it's a tough pill to swallow to go in there and basically just get your butt kicked every single game. And even the game last night when they lost 2-1, like, it's like they beat themselves that night. And then today, like, to blow a 7-0 lead, like, they had to give Jake Arrieta a fucking mound visit in the first inning. Up 7-0, fellas. 7-0. Jake Arrieta needed a mound visit. I love Jake. He's one of my all-time favorites. But I think he's done. And for anyone who's like, you shouldn't have brought him back, shouldn't have done this, I'll hold my hand up. I like bringing him back over John Lester. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I cared. I'm sorry I thought I knew something. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It all comes down to the front office. As much as I will defend the Darvish trade, they also set Cubs up to lose as well. Because even though I defend the Darvish trade, they didn't do anything to replace you, Darvish. I said in the mailbag I wrote a week and a half ago, Tejon Walker, the guy that signed with the Mets, 3 years, $23 million. He's getting paid $10 million this year. And he's having one of the best years of his career with the Mets. He signed in the offseason with them. I'm not saying it should have been him. I'm just saying, like, someone. They didn't do that. They signed a bunch of, like, guys on prove-it deals that struggled over the last couple of years. Like, that's the thing. That's what's worse than, like, if you're going to look away from the Yu Darvish trade like I do, that's the thing, that they didn't do anything to try to replace him. or to at least give the Cubs any depth. Like, I know they have a ton of injuries, but they just don't have any depth anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's just really fucking tough, guys. Like, for the first time, I don't have any, like, positive, optimistic look. I'm just saying that there's still hope. They could go on a nice 2-week stretch here, get real hot against these shitty teams, and who knows how we're feeling. If not, at least they're gonna lay down like everyone said, I guess. It's a tough look whenever your local media and fan base is rooting for you to lose. Like, I hate being part of that. I genuinely hate being part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not fun. I mean, it's really not. And that's, kind of what Juice and I talked about a little bit like last night, and we kind of started alluding to today, right? Was, we none of us want to see this 2021 team end this way, like, because everybody knows what's on the horizon with Baez and Bryant and Rizzo, and but like these injuries are almost, it feels like, just becoming too much. I mean, KB supposedly is hurt now that we learned today. Rizzo is obviously dealing with the back injury. Obviously, like you mentioned, Nico is still out. Hopefully he's back soon, and at least it's another warm body at this point. But then today you lose Patrick Wisdom now, and who knows how long he's out. What if he's concussed? Maybe he's gone for a couple weeks, and he was really the only reliable bat really in this Milwaukee series in the 2 games that he actually played, and then obviously the massive pinch hit homer in the first game. It's just like, and then like Juice said, the starting pitching right now is just not enough to get it done. I mean, Jake, I agree. I mean, I think every Cubs fan will sit here and say, Jake Arrieta, everybody will love him to the day they die, but he doesn't have it anymore, and it's, how are you going to trot him out there every 5th day, knowing that you got to burn through half your bullpen just to get through the game? Maybe this is the time now where Keegan Thompson gets a spot start. Maybe this is the time now where one of these guys down in AAA gets a spot start. Maybe it is time for somebody in AA to come in and get a spot start. Somebody that's looking for that kind of, maybe something that, the Cubs are saying, hey, we've seen enough of this guy in the minors. Let's see what he can do in the majors. Because shit, at this point, I mean, 5 innings out of Cole Stewart even is almost better than Jake at this point.
And I'd sit and say, yeah, let's go. Let's go and try to get healthy and see where the team lies. But the end of the season isn't the cutoff for when they need to make a decision. It's a couple weeks from now. And that's the problem. There is no time to get healthy. There's no time to figure it out. It's too short of a time. You need to figure it out now, because the trade deadline and the market it's setting itself right now. And what I fear is this stretch of Cubs baseball came at the time where it is so close to the market deciding what teams are going to do things and not, that recent play influences more than your past play. And where this team's trending in the direction is they need to get healthy. Well, they don't have time to do so. Well, they need to pitch better. Well, they're not going to get anybody back in return that's going to help them right now. They need to pitch better with the roster that they have right now, or find somebody in AAA who's going to do a better job. The problem is it seems like they've used all their options, right? I mean, you talked about Cole Stewart. We've seen him.
Right.
He's not that great. I mean,
no.
It's Jake Arrieta from last year, or not Jake Arrieta. Well, Jake Arrieta 2015, or Yu Darvish from last year, or John Lester from 2 years ago. They're not walking through that door. That's why this is so different than, hey, let's be optimistic. I've seen Cubs teams. That's my huge issue with it. It's the way this roster was constructed from the beginning is not a roster to succeed. And that's on Jed and the front office and the amount of payroll they were given at the time they needed it. It seemed like what happened in this offseason was they didn't have any money. They waited. Everybody signed. And then Ricketts came in and said, go ahead and spend. And he got the brunt of whatever was left. And now it's like, all right, we'll jumble it together and figure it out and win a division. Because that's legitimately what they were trying to do. If you're looking at what the Cubs wanted to be this year, they don't want to sell. Do you really seriously want to get rid of what you know? Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, add Wilson Contreras into that as well because he's a piece of value. Now you need to talk about that. I hate to say it, but if they are selling, everybody's on the table. That's the problem. It's that these guys don't want to go out like that. We don't want them to go out like that. But at the end of the day, this is how they're playing. This is the state of the ball club. And they don't have time. Mm-hmm. They don't have time. And it's sad because I feel like what's going to happen is they're going to sell because they're not going to be healthy for the next 2 weeks. They're going to get beat up by these teams that they should probably beat. And that's the way they go out. And it's not on their terms because injuries are not what Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant want. They don't want that. They want to be out there playing with their guys. And it's a damn shame, but it's the state of where the team's at. And if they are able to get healthy before the trade deadline, like we said last night, Ron, if you're not winning a World Series and you're not taking the steps to win the World Series in the future, then what are we doing? You can't just sit on it and pray. You got to make moves, and it sucks that one of these moves that they have to make may just be one of those near and dear guys that we hold to our heart because they won us a World Series. That's what's hard for us to swallow, I think.
Yeah. No, it really is. And I think that just quickly adds to it too, right? And then Cody, I know you got a point that you want to share with us, but I mean, that's the thing, right? Is the timing. It feels like this was so poorly timed. Like if this happened in the middle of May and they were really banged up and hurt and then they were able to get healthy and they had the time and started playing better in June, then, all of a sudden, going back to what Cody said in his rant, was just like, it just feels like this team can't figure out if they want to be good or not. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the timing of them deciding that they're not going to play well is right at a crucial decision point in the season because you don't even have the August waiver, trade deadline anymore. That was abolished. So now it is just this July 31st deadline. So teams really need to know now, really by All-Star break, which is in 2 weeks. I mean, not even 2 weeks. What are we talking? Literally like 11 days, 12 days. You have less than 2 weeks for this team to either win at least 6 games maybe? To at least justify maybe trying to do the 2016 Yankee model?
They got to be 3 back, and they got to hope Milwaukee loses too.
Yeah.
That's the other half, and they're pitching so damn good. They're going to be in every game.
And they got Burns now tomorrow. They didn't even have to waste him in today's series to get the 3rd win. He goes tomorrow for them now because they got him the extra day of rest with the bullpen day. And it's tough. Cody, what you got, man? Oh, and he pieced out. But I know Cody kind of was in agreement, I think, with us too. And I think we all share that here at Cubs on Tap. I really do, is that, none of us want to see this be the way it ends. I think that's what makes this suck even more. It's just like none of us wanted to see this be the way that it ends. But again, like you said, Juice, and I think you nailed it. And unfortunately, I think that perfectly describes kind of just how this, is happening right now, is that timing wise, this team is quote unquote falling apart at the wrong time. Because now, if we're being entirely honest, if Ricketts wants to clear payroll, he's going to be whispering in Jed's ear these next 2 weeks of, hey, Big Pimp, we got a lot of contracts on the board that you can sell and get some young players in return, and then we don't have to pay them. And it's a shame that, the team with the most expensive tickets in baseball would operate in that capacity. But again, it's just the timing's everything, right? Timing's everything with everything in life. And with this 2021 Cubs team, timing right now is you're playing your worst baseball of the season, arguably worse than April, because at least in April the pitching was kind of getting them by. Like you're playing your worst baseball at literally the teetering point of the season of saying we're either a buyer or we're either a seller, because they've hung around long enough. It's not like they're the Pirates and, oh shit, we suck so bad that it's an easy decision. Yeah, we're selling at the deadline. They teetered on this like, hey, we can lead the division and we can compete in this division. And now the judgment day really is coming for this roster. And unfortunately, after these last 2 games, like you said, Juice, that are just an absolute, kicking the balls, kicking the stomach, whatever you want to call it. Jim Cramer is blasting away on, CNN or CNBC or wherever he's on, with his little sell BS.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's I don't even want to say it because I don't want this team to sell. But the way they're playing, like they can't justify buying right now.
The other side of it too is going into the season, you knew you had to play your way into buying, right?
Absolutely.
You never had to play your way into selling. At any moment, they were ready to turn the page on the contracts on the roster, strictly because they don't want to just walk away with nothing. That's bad business practices, right? To walk away from nothing, with nothing for Chris Bryant, with nothing for Anthony Rizzo, with nothing for Javier Baez, with nothing for Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue. And they're not doing it. They're not playing their way into buying. They were. It was fun there in May when you're like, all right, add a top of the line rotation. Who knows what happens?
Right.
But in the back of my mind, even if they did that, and this isn't a shot at the 2016 Cubs or the guys who made it happen. We've seen that play before, man.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen them buy at the deadline and bring back pieces that they think could get them over the hump to win a World Series. And what do? They don't hit. They don't pitch. Mm-hmm. They can't get it done. What's sad is the team that got it done has forgotten how to get it done.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that really upsets us, because they have so much talent and they've showed it. And like we said last night, in 2016, the expectations or the possibilities were endless for this squad. They were young. They were getting better.
Mm.
And it's just sad to kind of look back now and just kind of to be like, hey, man, like, this is probably it. This is probably it. And I hate to be the sad one in the room, but if you watch the way they played, and I think a lot of people knew too, you know what I mean? That you've watched this team like I have for so long.
Oh, yeah.
And you watched tonight, and you watched yesterday, and you watch, even the day before, the way that they blew that game out of nowhere. And that inning takes 45 minutes for them to get through. And ends with a position player pitching. It's brutal, man. You don't lose good teams don't lose like that. 3 days in a row. They don't.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah, I mean, I feel you. And especially, going back to kind of the word that Cody used is numb. I think that's just kind of how a lot of Cubs fans feel right now. It's just very numb. This whole Brewers series was just a numbing series, because now it's like you think back to the offseason, right? And the team, and the Darvish trade happens, and, they don't really do much. And, they go out and they get Jock, and, they non-tender Schwarber, and they let John Lester walk when he was literally willing to take whatever the hell you were willing to give him. And you bring back Jake, almost as at that point feels like a move just to try and, make up for your sins at that point. And a lot of Cubs fans, I think, had that intuition in 2021 of like, this season's going to be tough. And, they come out the gate and they're not playing so great. And you're like, oh shit, we were right. And then they turned the tide. Like you said, they turned it around. May was fun. Even like end of April when they started to kind of sort of heat up a little bit. That was fun, and they started playing good baseball, and the pitching was doing enough to get them wins. And the bullpen was firing on all cylinders, and, the offense was doing enough to win games. And, it was fun. The Cubs were in first place in the NL Central, and things are looking up. And holy shit, we're playing our way, like you said, playing our way into, being buyers at the deadline and being able to, maybe, just maybe, catch lightning in a bottle. And this could be the last hurrah for this team. of kind of this full core of that, 2016 World Championship team. And then June happened, and you like you said, after that Cardinals series, you started to see some inconsistencies, but they were able to still kind of teeter by. And then now it just feels like it started to all come crashing down. The injuries, Nico Horner, IL, Matt Duffy, IL. The list goes on. KB and Rizzo right now dealing with some shit. Like when it's literally Wilson Contreras, Javier Baez, and the boys is like your lineup for that day. And then your only guy that was magically hitting since he was called up in AAA also gets hurt today. And you also had Lobaton, who was your fourth backup catcher, go down yesterday. He's on the 60-day IL now too. You're on your fifth backup catcher this season.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that.
I don't think I've ever seen that either on any team in the MLB, let alone the Cubs. I've seen them go through maybe like 3 catchers in a season. Maybe you see a guy come up for like 2 games as like the 4th dude, but that's only just because like you want to give a guy
Temper
a blow.
call-ups.
Yeah, but holy shit, man. I mean, and again, the problem is you said it, and I know, we've said it multiple times. Cody said it, you said it, I said it. This depth of this team just isn't there. Years past, sure, they were deep enough where they could get by with a couple injuries. But right now, you're starting to see it. Like, this team is not deep enough to just keep taking gut punch after gut punch of IL stints. And again, kudos to the team on the other side of town. They've had this, just as bad, if not worse, gut punches in terms of IL stints, and yet they're still finding a way to get it done. Sure, they've sputtered a little bit too, but they're still figuring it out. And it just now it feels like the Cubs just can't figure it out because your starting pitching can't do anything. Your bullpen is taxed. They're still good. They're burned out because they get used so damn much because, there was a point in the season where like we could count on one hand the amount of times a pitcher went 6 innings for this, starting staff.
Shit, just go 5.
Yeah.
The way we were
like
trending.
It was a struggle to get through 5 sometimes. And and the bats went cold and the injuries piled up. And now it all happens at the worst time. If we're sitting here talking about this late in the season, hey, you tried, you gave it a run. It is what it is, but it's coming at Judgment Day. Judgment Day is right around the corner. And really I think this year that's the All-Star break because teams are going to be trying to make moves earlier, I think, than later. That July, when's it being played? The 13th, I believe, is the All-Star game. I believe it's that Tuesday of that week. Yeah, who knows? If KB's in the All-Star game, is it his last time suiting up for the Cubs? Exactly. And I hate saying that. That tasted like vinegar coming out of my mouth.
Does he even get to the All-Star game in a Cup uniform?
I don't know. And that's the thing. And here's the better question. What is Judgment Day?
When is enough? When's enough?
Yeah.
When have you watched enough? You mentioned the White Sox. Yeah, they've been hurt, but you know what they do that we don't do? They pitch.
Mm-hmm.
They have a great starting rotation. The Cubs don't have that to fall back on. They got one guy. You got a guy learning out there. You got a veteran who's done.
Yeah.
And you got Davies, who is decent.
Good. He's been okay. He's been good.
He's decent. He doesn't scare you.
Mm-mm.
And then you got a rotation at the 5th spot that, since Alec Mills threw a no-hitter, bad. Trevor Williams hurt, and when he wasn't hurt, he was bad.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have pitching. And this is – I would love to sit here and be optimistic and be like, they'll get healthy and turn it around.
Yeah.
But I can't. Can't do it anymore.
And to add on to it, it's the hardest right now because of the timing.
Yeah.
I really think that's it. Because, again, if this happens a month and a half ago, hey, we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right.
Baseball
they're going to get healthy and they're going to be fine. And, they can go by at the deadline and go get that, that guy that can come in and be at the top of the rotation like a Jose Berrios or somebody like that. Just a useful arm that can go 6 innings, maybe even 7, give you a chance every 5th day. But holy shit, what an awful time for this team to hit this kind of skid. And like we've said, not only I would feel a little better about being swept by the Brewers if like they're in it and like just the Brewers just flat out in terms of like outpitched them and each game's like a 1-run game. Okay, fine. We knew their Brewers pitching was good, right? But Peralta, you finally get to him enough. You have that game, and then that 8th inning, just that the bullpen imploded and they give up 10. Yesterday, you and I talked about it. Opportunity after opportunity with men on base, and they just couldn't get it done. 11 left on base combined between Happ and Sogard alone. And then today, you yield a 7-0 lead on a bullpen day. Not even Corbin Burns pitching today, who's arguably their ace. I mean, him and Woodruff are kind of just 1 and 1A on that staff. And like, it didn't matter. They literally got Corbin Burns an extra day and still get a win.
And you blew it within. It wasn't like a slow bleed where they scored one run here. No, it was like
by the
fourth inning over. They gave up 31 runs to a team that's in 3 games that struggles to score runs.
Mm-hmm.
Wrap that. It's a bad team. It's a bad team that does that.
Yep.
That's shit you see like the Pirates do.
Ugh.
Or the Tigers do.
Wow.
Or the Arizona Diamondbacks do. Those are the teams that do that.
Yeah.
Not the Cubs.
Or the Baltimore Orioles.
Not a team that's contending.
Yeah.
That's what's so alarming. That's what screeches it to a halt, right? It's just the car was going, and then boom. Wall.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's, what do? Do you pick up the pieces, put the car back together? Or do you have the tow truck guy come and scrap it and hand it out to, cars that need a tire or need another engine? And that's where you're at. That's Cubs baseball in a nutshell right now.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately going to be, I think, most of the mood here at Cubs on Tap. Is it's not like a total like, yeah, we're rooting for the sell-off, but it's just like well, is there going to be a sell-off? Like, unfortunately, that's the narrative. People are going to be like, well, you just don't talk about it. Well, unfortunately, you kind of have to, because
it's a giant elephant in the room. If you don't talk about it, you're not educating yourself on where the team is either. And I don't want to say that we're
ignoring the obvious.
Yeah, and I don't want to say we're an educational program. I'm not the smartest man. I'm a fan like anybody listening to this thing.
Mm-hmm. Diehards. That's why we do it.
But with that said, man, if you don't address it and talk about it and think about, the state of where the team is, and my thing as a Cub fan, when's their next World Series?
Mm-hmm.
When are they going to win another World Series?
Mm-hmm.
And if getting rid of guys like Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo and Wilson Contreras and Javi Baez and Craig Kimbrell get you closer to doing that, and you think that this lineup together can't do it anymore, then you got to just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off, and everybody's going to hate you for it, and people are going to yell at ownership. But please, point at some ownership team other than the New England Patriots that don't get screamed at by fans. Please.
Oh, yeah.
Please, that's their job. They own the team.
Yeah.
They're lose-lose. If they buy and they overpay, a la Jason Hayward, and they don't produce, then you yell, why'd you give $190 million to this guy?
Right.
If you don't buy, then you're cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want? Right. And that's 9 times out of 10. That's not how the organization works. 9 times. This is a rare situation considering what happened with COVID.
True.
Very rare. There's different movings. There's different angles of this you can look at. Did anybody handle it the right way? No, they didn't. The Cubs certainly have the money to spend. Mm-hmm. But we can't sit here and talk about what didn't happen in the offseason. That's over with.
Right.
This is where the team is on the chessboard. Figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, I equate it, using your chess example, it's kind of like when like both of your rooks are already gone, you got a knight gone, your queen might be gone already too, and like all you got left is like 2 bishops and your king and a bunch of pawns, and you're just praying to God that you can work your way into something crazy. But like, who knows? And again, baseball's a crazy sport. For those that
It
are
is.
like listening to this right now, being like, "Oh, I hate you, Cubs on damn guys right now because you're being so negative." Sure, this team could hypothetically go on some type of run and become buyers at deadline. Who knows? You got 2 weeks, not even, but you'd have to show something. And unfortunately, just looking at it through plain my eyeballs, these two big old things right here that I'm using. Today is not a good sign. Let's just put that way. That's putting it very lightly and just very truthfully. Is that the way things stand? Again, today isn't as terrible if you lose 3-2. Or if Burns is pitching and you lose 3-2. I at least can swallow that and say, hey, you know what? Regroup.
Or if Burns just comes out and just blinks you.
Yeah, or
I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, it's Burns. Hey, the dude's one of the best pitchers in the major leagues right now. Cool. It is what it is. We regroup, like Cody said, thank God for the off day. And he said it here, in the comments too. And it's a comment I'm going to bring up more toward the preview of the next game, because I think it fits a little better. But like, you had an off day tomorrow. So like, again, if that happens, Burns just wipes the floor with you. All right. Hey, you regroup. You got 3 with Cincy. Keep it moving. But you're up 7-0 and you go up 15 unanswered runs to lose to the Brewers with no Corbin Burns, with a 23-year-old making his major league debut that you got 7 runs off of. And you shit the bed. You shit down your leg. And that's the part that sucks, is because, like you said, Juice, if in 2 weeks, I'm not saying, we're rooting for the sell-off, but just if in 2 weeks, we'll call a spade. In 2 weeks, they decide to sell off, we probably can look back and say, this game and yesterday's game are the 2 games where the little creeping of doubt started to, sneak its way into the front office, and find its way in the minds of,
let alone
Jed
that,
and everybody else.
The clubhouse in general. I like to quote from one of my favorite baseball movies. Blanking on the name of it, with pick me out a winner, Wonder Boy.
No.
Natural.
Yeah.
Natural. Losing is like a disease, as contagious as polio.
It is.
This last 3, it's a mindset, man. You lose games like that, you start really putting your head down. And baseball's a tough sport to keep your head up.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to fail. Good hitters failed 7 out of 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when you have this on top of it, when you're failing and you're winning, it's easy to be like, all right, hey, we're all right. We're winning baseball games. But when you're failing and you're losing, it's really hard to stay positive. And when you have the front office too kind of breathing down your neck, like, hey, what are we doing here? It makes it a very uncomfortable room. Hate to be David Ross right now. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It's probably the toughest job because he sits in between both.
Mm-hmm.
He's the player's guide, and he's, front office. He's Jed's guy. He's, a Tom Ricketts guy too, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
He has the hardest job for the next 2 weeks because he has to piece together a lineup. That's going to be real interesting to see who plays, after the off day.
Right.
And they got to win. They got to come out after the off day and win a baseball game. And who knows who's going to be in that lineup. And who knows what kind of start you're going to get out of – I haven't even looked to see who's pitching yet. So who knows what you're going to get, because it ain't Hendricks. Mm-mm. He already pitched. It's not his day.
Mm-mm.
So.
Yeah, it is. It's just – I don't know, man. It sucks. And again, and the reason is to reiterate with everybody. The reason this episode is so somber and so sad is because none of us wanted to see it potentially be this way. But if this is how if this is how this Cubs golden era ends, is because of this 2021 collapse at the end of June, that sucks. That sucks. Just huge monkey balls. I got no other word to use there besides that. Like, and like Joe Gadberry said here on YouTube, sad man thought this team could give us one more thrill ride. And for a while it felt that way, like we were saying in May. And then, yeah, Joey Ricotta, we feel you, buddy. He says, fuck my life. A touchdown followed by 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. Yeah, I mean, it's literally what it was. It's like, hey, the Bears defense is sitting on keeping Aaron Rodgers down, and you're up 7-0 because their defense
Cuddy
is playing
kept
well.
giving him short field.
Yeah, and then finally they get the 2 and put it out of reach. But, I mean, this one just is such an absolute kick in the balls, I think, to every Cubs fan, metaphorically, of course, just to every Cubs fan out there, because nobody wants to see it end this way. Even the super uber positive Cubs fan that still believes they can turn it around. I know Cody's got that hope, and I
give him credit for that.
Hell yeah, I'm envious of that hope. And Joey Ricotta said in the comment, I'm not going to show it on the screen because I might give PTSD to any Bears fan watching, but 4th and 8, 48-yard bomb to Randall Cobb.
Please no.
I
was there.
But, like, you know, I applaud that fan because that's hard to do. And here's the thing, and this is, I think, a big misconception that I would like to call out. And I hope anybody that's listening to this, whether in podcast form, live, whatever, you understand this. Just because a fan gets sad about how their team's playing doesn't make them not a real fan. Get that narrative the fuck out of here. If we didn't care, then we're not a real fan.
Yep.
But we do care, and we do feel emotion about our favorite team. And we can get upset. It's natural. People get upset. Again, I give credit to the people that can keep that positive mentality when things are going bad, at least when it's like your team that you're rooting for. Something that doesn't directly affect your life in the grand scheme of, you know, the bigger picture. But, like, it just sucks. And again, because, like, no, if you would have told every Cubs fan in 2015, you're going to have the best run of Cubs baseball in this franchise's history, and it's going to end with a 3-game series against the fucking Brewers at the end of June, 2 weeks before the trade deadline.
And you're not even healthy. Your best players are watching from the –
Right. Again, if you know what, if they're playing like absolute dog shit and it is the full lineup, all right, hey, you know what? Then clearly something's not working here. It still sucks, but at least you can point to something. That's what makes it even worse, is like, and literally there's nothing that these big guns can do about it because they're all hurt. Chris is dealing with injury. Riz is dealing with injury. And again, the pandemic really, really helped set the narrative for this Cubs season. Let's just call a spade too, because, you know, going from the 60 to 162 is the reason why you're seeing so many injuries around baseball. You know, if they play a full 2020, you know, maybe they make the playoffs in 2020 and then they come back into this year and maybe it's a different narrative. You know, maybe KB has an incredible year in 2020 and he's already locked up and extended. You know, maybe Rizzo's the same way. And all of a sudden, then the narrative for 2021 gets very different. And even coming into this year, if it was 2018 in terms of contract situations, quote unquote, and this team did this, hey, run it back next year. 2016 Yankees thought process, no big deal. But it's not. It's because 3 of your biggest players are free agents at the end of the season, and your potentially 4th biggest players are free agent after next season. It's because you just traded away your Cy Young caliber starter, and you didn't address anything in the starting rotation to get better. You know, it's because of all this just unfortunate narrative that came about with this 2021 setup, kind of just at the worst possible time. Now we're sitting here with the thought process, and I think at least every Cubs fan's mind, even if they don't want to admit it, of holy shit, in 2 weeks,
this could be over.
This Cubs team could be pieced apart, and all of a sudden it's a shell of itself for the rest of the year. And then every Cubs fan looks at 2021 offseason and goes, what's the direction of this team? And again, I think the fear of change. People just naturally hate change, especially when it's successful change. You know, Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, all these guys affiliated with the 2016 team in this glory years of Cubs baseball. I mean, look at what happened when Schwarber was non-tendered. How many people were sad? Can you imagine what would happen, completely hypothetically, if all three were traded at the deadline?
Yeah.
You know how much money liquor stores are going to make because Cubs fans are going to be drinking their feelings? Quite
Yeah.
a few. They're going to be very rich. The bars in Wrigleyville are going to love everybody because everybody's just going to be like, hey, I'm coming to the ballpark to just get drunk and reminisce about what was. You know what I mean? Like,
Ugh.
it just sucks. And at this point, I'm rambling. So, Juice, I'm going to turn it quickly back over to you, man, because I want to put this game and this entire fucking series in the rear view. And I pray to God I never have to even think about it ever again. I know it's not probably going to be the case, but I'm going to tell myself that at least so I can feel better about the rest of my evening. But, Juice, any last thoughts on today before we look ahead to Friday?
Dear God, don't hurt me again. No, I don't know. I think we've said it. I think we've said it all. You know, there's no other thoughts. There's nothing to be left unturned. It's just a matter of and I said it last night. It's 2 weeks of Cubs baseball. That's must-see TV from now until the deadline. Now until the All-Star break, and then the deadline shortly thereafter. So,
Right.
Fingers crossed, that they can pull out of it. Nobody wants them to pull out of it more than me.
Mm-hmm.
Diehard Cub fan, and I love every single second of watching Cubs baseball. And I'd hate for it to end early, and I would hate to get on this podcast for the next 3 months and talk about sad shit about what we think are going to be options for the future at third base, first base, catcher, shortstop.
Yeah,
because that's where this podcast could go.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to warn the people who listen right now. That's what we've talked about in our brand leader talks and in our Skypes and our meetings.
Mm-hmm.
The team is fun and it's more enjoyable for all of us when they're good.
Absolutely.
But with that said, this page is being turned really, really quick, and the story as it marinates is getting less and less tasty. It's pretty bitter, and it's sad series. Flip the page, and we'll preview the next one.
Yeah, and just adding to what you said, Juice, like every Cubs fan doesn't want it to go that way. Like we're all rooting for they win the next 10 and all of a sudden they're magically back in it. Like, and this team gets healthy and everything like that. And the narrative would change. And yeah, and first off, I do want to thank all those that listen regularly, and we see the podcast numbers of all the people that are downloading and listening, and like thank you, because you guys again are the reason that we do this and why we jump on the mic game in and game out to talk about this. And also I've been meaning to give a shout out. I've noticed we have a very decent following in Germany, so hello to all of those in Germany that listen to the podcast, because anytime I check the numbers I'm like, wow, we actually like a meaningful percentage in Germany, which I think is awesome. But yeah, I mean, the next 2 weeks, summing this whole thing up, the next 2 weeks dictate the narrative of this podcast and of this team for the next 2.5 to 3 months. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see. And just to quickly rub a little more salt in the wound from Joey Ricotta here, can you imagine how bad it's going to be if we barely get to see KB Rizzo or Baez play before if they are all traded because of injuries? Yeah, that would suck. That's what he finished his comment with.
Yeah, you could have watched them play their last game or without even knowing.
Yep, it's and that's the part. That's the part that sucks. I think, and a lot of Blackhawks fans. Again, I'm a diehard Blackhawks fan. Anybody that ever watches these shows can see the big old Indian head up on the wall behind me. That's how a lot of people felt with Marian Hossa.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know it was his last Blackhawks game until it wasn't, and that's what sucks. And I don't think anybody wants to say that. But this is the comment I wanted to show from Cody. He says, all in all, thank God for the off day tomorrow. Yes, thank God for the off day. Mentally, I think every Cubs fan needs it because he says, you sure as hell know I'll find a reason to get up for them on Friday, was how he ended that comment. So, and you know what? I'm still going to be excited to watch the game on Friday. I'm still going to watch. As you said, Juice, it's must-see TV. But yeah, the off day comes at a fantastic time, and I think that's a perfect time for us to quickly transition and go ahead and wrap this thing up. So, Juice, like we said, we get July 1st off, but on July 2nd, on Friday, Cubs are back in action, this time at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Ohio, to take on the Cincinnati Reds. It is a 6:10 Central Daylight Time first start, or first pitch, excuse me. Wow, I'm just all over the place. Yeah, I'm all over the place right now. This Cubs game today made me so sad that I can't even think straight right now. But you can listen, watch Normal Suspects in Chicago, 670, the Score Marquee Sports Network. And if you're in Ohio, WLW 700 for the radio network and Bally Sports Ohio for the television. The Cubbies are projected to trot out right-handed pitcher Alec Mills. Mills is 3-1 on the season with a 5.11 ERA and 26 Ks. Obviously, hasn't pitched a ton in a starting role. Been doing mostly out of the pen, but has started a few games of late. So it'll be intriguing to see. He hasn't pitched awful, but he also hasn't pitched great because, like we said, there isn't a 2015 Jake Arrieta walking through the door. And on the other side, a very good pitcher who's having a very year in terms of his record, Sonny Gray. Will be pitching for the Reds on Friday, unless that for some reason changes. But he's 1-4 on the season, 3.42 ERA, not a terrible ERA number, with 65 Ks. And unfortunately, nobody in this Cubs lineup does well against Sonny Gray, which just makes it even worse. So, Juice, I'll turn it over to you, buddy. You know the drill. Preview, fly the W. How you feeling about Friday?
Win a game. Said it last night. Win a game. Yeah, not good numbers against Sonny Gray. I know that for a fact because every time it seems like he comes up in the rotation, we don't do too well. Win a game, pick a lane, figure it out. I'll take Javi Baez because I think that's the only guy we can safely say will probably be in the lineup.
As awful as that sounds, you're probably right. I agree with you, man. You got to start somewhere. If you are going to turn this thing around in these 2 weeks, you got to start somewhere. Get a W Friday. Control your own destiny. In some way, shape, or form. You know how you do that? You win ball games, and then you're the biggest fan of whoever the fuck's playing the Brewers because that's what you need. And right now, the Reds are right on your tail. So a 2 out of 3 against the Reds is good. Helps your positioning in the standings, helps keep you a little closer to the Brewers, and then you're just absolutely rooting your tail off for whoever's playing the Brewers. I don't know who they go and play. Actually, I can probably look it up here real quick as I'm bullshitting and talking, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting game. Again, Mills on the mound. I would love to see him somehow be able to come out and give 6 innings. I think that would be fantastic. And again, I would like to see these back of the end bullpen guys actually have to pitch on Friday because it means they have a lead. You know, give me Chafin, give me obviously Tepera's out, but give me Chafin, give me, I know Justin Steele's not back yet, unfortunately, because that's a guy I'd love to see pitch too. But give me those high leverage arms. Give me a Kimbrel in the 9th inning. I would love to see Kimbrel pitch on Friday. My fantasy team would love to see that too, because like the Cubs, my fantasy team has been absolute ass lately as well. But
Milwaukee plays the Pirates.
Oh, fuck.
I knew that you were looking for it. I looked it up quick myself.
Yeah.
Not good. Cubs need to win tomorrow.
Not great, Bob.
Friday.
Yeah, well, I'm the biggest Pittsburgh Pirates fan in the fucking world tomorrow, man.
I think we all are, but
hey, I still need Corbin Burns though to go like 6 innings. He can get the no decision. It's fine.
Fair enough.
I need the fantasy points. I do have him on my fantasy team, unfortunately. But no. But all joking aside, yeah, just get a W on Friday. I'm right in that boat with you, man. And like I said, I look at this lineup and nobody has been good against Sonny Gray. One guy is at least 2 for 6 against him, I guess, with 2 RBIs, and a dude that needs to get going if this team has any prayer of turning it around. I'm gonna go ahead and take Ian Happ on Friday. He'll be in the lineup, right-handed pitcher. I would expect him hitting lefty. They want him in. So Ian Happ, I'm picking him because I'm hoping. I spoke Wisdom having a good game into existence today. Unfortunately, he just decided to get into a collision at first base and mess his face up a little bit, and hopefully he's not concussed and it's just a little whiplash or whatever, and he's good, and he can come back maybe for Friday. That'd be nice. Maybe we get a Nico Horner for Friday. That'd be cool. That would make my Thursday a lot better if Nico Horner gets reinstated from the injured list.
No more Eric Sogard would be nice, but
yeah, that would be lovely. That would really be lovely. Like I would love to see P-Wise at third on Friday and Nico at second with Javi at short, and literally anybody at first. Maybe KB, but he's hurt. I don't know how long that's going to affect them. I'm not going to make myself sad by thinking about Bryant and Rizzo being hurt, but I will say I think Ian Happ needs to have a big game, big series, and he's an Ohio guy. We always used to joke about it with
tied
Schwarber.
all together.
Yeah, we used to talk about it with Schwarber all the time. He was that way too. It seems like Ian Happ tends to play really well when they're in Ohio, especially in Cincinnati because that's where he went to college, and he's also that way in Pittsburgh because that's where he's from. So the two NL Central teams that I usually feel pretty good about Ian Happ in the lineup against, since he's one of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and take number 8. I need him to whatever he needs to do. If he needs to drink, friend of the program, Dom's, morale blend. If he needs 8 cups of it before that game on Friday, I don't care. Do whatever you got to do, man, because the Cubs need him. The Cubs need Jock. The Cubs need those 2 guys to really be able to pick up some slack. And Willie and Baez, like those 4 guys right now are who they have to lean on with the injuries to KB, Rizzo, and Horner and others. So I'm going to go ahead and take Ian as my Fly the W player for Friday.
Love it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to quickly remind you that On Tap Sportsnet, or Cubs On Tap, again, my brain's all over the place.
On Tap Sportsnet is sponsored by Cubs On Tap.
Yeah, we sponsor On Tap Sportsnet. Ha, ha, ha. No, I'm just kidding. No, in all seriousness, Cubs On Tap is the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. I told you this 15-7 meltdown today just melted my brain.
I'm with you, brother.
You can find us over at www.ontapsportsnet.com and at ontapsportsnet on social media. You can also follow the pod specific accounts at Cubbies, Cubbies on tap. That's on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Luce on Tap. Juice is at Juice on Tap. Again, we're very on brand here at Cubs on Tap. You can also follow all of our other great panelists at Joe Maris, at Cody on Tap, at The Riot 326, at Marty Laval, and others that contribute here at Cubs on Tap. You can also check us out not only for great Cubs coverage like you're hearing now, you can also check out our Bears coverage, Bulls coverage, Blackhawks coverage, and yes, again, Northsider fans, we all have friends that like the Southsiders. Go ahead and bring them over to us as well. Our Sox on Tap crew does a great job covering them. So once again, www.ontapsportsnet.com and at ontapsportsnet on social media, the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Juice. This was fun. Well, I don't even.
This was not fun.
It's always a pleasure jumping on the mic with you.
There you go.
But this episode was definitely not a fun one.
Yeah.
But we appreciate everybody that did listen along, either live or via the podcast. We should be back after Friday's game for a show on Friday evening. Don't know who's going to be the combination on that show. And then you probably won't hear from us until Monday. Obviously, 4th of July coming up this weekend. People are going to be with their families, with friends, probably lighting off fireworks. I stay away from fireworks because knowing me, I'll blow my hand off. But we'll probably then be back with you guys then on Monday after their first game with the Phillies. We can probably talk a little bit about the Nicholas Castellanos series is what I'm going to call it now, just because I know he's going to continue to break my heart in Cincinnati. But we'll talk about that Cincinnati Cubs series a little bit and recap that Phillies game for sure. And but be on the lookout for content from all the Cubs on Tap guys this weekend. I'm sure Cody will post some reaction videos after the games. I'm going to do my best to do the same after Saturday and Sunday's games as well. And hopefully a couple other guys join in on that too. So at least you guys are getting something from us over the holiday weekend. But with that being said, in case Juice and I aren't here, happy 4th of July. If we're not on Friday's show, be safe, enjoy yourselves. Hashtag crack 'em with your friends and family. And Juice, what do you say, man? We get out of here the only way we know how to, buddy?
Please, Cubs.
Let's go, Cubbies.